What if I told you that millions of Americans could be looking at an extra $3,500 in their Social Security checks thanks to a bombshell revelation from Donald Trump himself? This isn't speculation or wishful thinking, this is coming straight from recent statements that have sent shockwaves through Washington and left financial experts scrambling to understand the full implications. But before we dive deep into what this could mean for your retirement income, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell because we're about to break down information that could directly impact your financial future. The revelation came during Trump's recent discussions about his planned executive actions for his presidency, where he outlined ambitious plans to restructure how Social Security benefits are calculated and distributed. What makes this particularly stunning is that Trump isn't talking about minor adjustments or gradual improvements, he's proposing a fundamental overhaul that could inject thousands of additional dollars into the pockets of beneficiaries across the country. The $3,500 figure isn't just pulled from thin air either. This number represents the average potential increase that financial analysts have calculated based on Trump's proposed changes to the Social Security system. So what exactly is Trump proposing that could lead to such a dramatic increase in benefits? The plan centers around several key mechanisms that would work together to boost Social Security payments significantly. First, there's the elimination of federal taxes on Social Security benefits, something Trump has been advocating for throughout his campaign and now into his presidency. Currently, depending on your income level, up to 85% of your Social Security benefits can be subject to federal income tax. For many retirees, this means a substantial portion of their benefits gets eaten up by tax obligations before they ever see the money in their bank accounts. Under Trump's proposed executive order framework, this taxation would be eliminated entirely, meaning beneficiaries would keep 100% of their Social Security payments. For someone receiving the average Social Security benefit of around $1,800 per month, eliminating federal taxes could translate to keeping an additional $200 to $400 monthly, depending on their overall tax situation. Over the course of a year, that's anywhere from $2,400 to $4,800 in additional income money that currently goes to the IRS instead of helping seniors pay for groceries, medications, or housing costs. But the tax elimination is just one piece of the puzzle. Trump's plan also includes provisions for what he calls catch-up payments for current beneficiaries who have been shortchanged by years of inadequate cost of living adjustments. Anyone who has been following Social Security knows that the annual COLA increases often fail to keep pace with real inflation, especially when it comes to expenses that disproportionately affect seniors like healthcare and housing. Trump's executive order would reportedly include provisions for retroactive adjustments to account for this discrepancy, potentially resulting in lump sum payments to current beneficiaries. The mechanics of how this would work are fascinating and complex. The Social Security Administration would be directed to recalculate benefits based on a more accurate inflation measure that takes into account the actual spending patterns of seniors rather than the general population inflation index currently used. This recalculation could reveal that many current beneficiaries have been underpaid by hundreds or even thousands of dollars over the years. The executive order would then authorize these catch-up payments to be distributed, either as lump sums or spread out over several months of enhanced benefits. Additionally, Trump's plan reportedly includes provisions for increasing the minimum Social Security benefit to ensure that no American who has worked and contributed to the system for decades receives less than a livable amount. This minimum benefit increase would be particularly impactful for lower-income workers who may have had intermittent employment or lower wages throughout their careers. The proposed minimum could be set at levels that would represent significant increases for millions of current beneficiaries who are struggling to make ends meet on their current payments. Now, you might be wondering how all of this is possible through executive order rather than requiring congressional approval. This is where Trump's legal team has been working behind the scenes to identify existing authorities and regulatory mechanisms that could be leveraged. The Social Security Act contains various provisions that give the executive branch significant discretion in how benefits are calculated and administered. By reinterpreting certain regulations and directing federal agencies to prioritize beneficiary welfare over revenue collection, many of these changes could potentially be implemented without new legislation. The tax elimination component, for instance, could be achieved through IRS regulatory changes and Treasury Department directives that reclassify Social Security benefits as non-taxable income. While this would reduce federal revenue, Trump's team argues that the economic stimulus effect of putting more money directly into the pockets of consumers would offset much of this revenue loss through increased economic activity and corresponding tax collections from other sources. The financial implications of these changes extend far beyond individual beneficiaries. Economic analysts are projecting that injecting this level of additional purchasing power into the economy could have significant multiplier effects. Seniors spend a higher percentage of their income compared to other demographic groups, meaning that extra money in Social Security checks tends to get spent quickly on necessities like food, healthcare, and housing. This increased spending could stimulate local economies across the country, particularly in areas with high concentrations of retirees. However, critics are raising important questions about the long-term sustainability and legality of such sweeping changes implemented through executive action. Some legal scholars argue that major modifications to Social Security benefit structures require congressional approval, and that attempting to implement them through executive order could face immediate court challenges. There are also concerns about how these increased payments would be funded without corresponding increases in Social Security contributions or other revenue sources. The Social Security trustees have been warning for years about the program's long-term financial challenges, with projections showing that without changes, the trust fund could be depleted within the next decade. Critics argue that increasing benefits without addressing the underlying funding issues could accelerate this timeline and create an even more severe crisis down the road. Supporters counter that the economic growth generated by increased consumer spending could help address these concerns while providing immediate relief to millions of struggling seniors. The political implications are equally significant. If Trump successfully implements these changes and millions of Americans see substantial increases in their Social Security checks, it could fundamentally reshape the political landscape around retirement security. Democrats, who have traditionally positioned themselves as the protectors of Social Security, would face pressure to either support these changes or explain why they oppose putting more money in seniors' pockets. For current Social Security beneficiaries and those approaching retirement age, the key question is what this means practically and when any changes might take effect. While executive orders can be implemented relatively quickly compared to legislation, the complexity of Social Security administration means that even with presidential directives, actual implementation could take several months. The Social Security Administration would need time to reprogram computer systems, retrain staff, and develop new procedures for calculating and distributing enhanced benefits. The $3,500 figure that analysts are citing represents an average potential increase, but individual impacts would vary significantly based on current benefit levels, tax situations, and other factors. Higher-income beneficiaries who currently pay taxes on their Social Security benefits might see larger increases from tax elimination, while lower-income beneficiaries might benefit more from minimum benefit increases and catch-up payments. Some beneficiaries could see increases well above $3,500 annually, while others might see smaller but still meaningful improvements. As this story continues to develop, it's crucial to stay informed about both the opportunities and potential challenges ahead. The next few months will be critical in determining whether Trump can successfully implement these changes and what the actual impact will be on Social Security beneficiaries across the country. What's certain is that millions of Americans are watching closely, hoping that relief might finally be on the way for their retirement security concerns.